Hi everyone and welcome back to Books with Karen. Today's video is a video about books that reflect your favourite holiday destination. I was recently reading a book that was set in a place that I go quite frequently in England for weekend breaks, midweek breaks, things like that. And as I was reading it, it was talking about places that I'd visited, and it had actually talked about some places that I didn't even know were there. So when I go back, I've made a list and I'm going to visit the places. So this got us thinking about other favourite holiday destinations that I've been to over the last few years. And I thought I would try and find a book for each destination. So even if I'm not going to go back there, I can read the book and hopefully it'll bring some memories back of the places that I've been, and I can remember those holidays fondly while reading the book. So I've got 10 here and I'm just going to go through them and tell you the destination and then the book I found to go with it. And hopefully you can get some inspiration for your own favourite holiday destinations that you've been to. Maybe they're the same as mine. Maybe you've got your own. Go and Google it. Just put in fiction books from and the place that you've been to, and it gives you lots of ideas. So there is definitely a few on here that I haven't read. In fact, I think I've only read 2 of them. There's a few that I've put on my list and I'm going to be getting over the next few months to read them. So let's just get stuck in with the first one. I'm going to put my specs on so I can read from my screen. If I'm looking away from the camera, it's because I'm looking at the screen here. I will put a picture of the book cover up here for you to look at while I'm talking. So the first one is Victoria Hislop's The Island, which is set in Greece, specifically Crete and Spinalonga. We went to a place called Koutoulophari in Crete a few years ago and we visited Spinalonga, and it was absolutely, it was a beautiful, beautiful place with such a sad story. But as I'd already read the book before I went, it kind of, it brought everything forward in my mind when I was there, and it just really resonated. So this was a really lovely book. If you don't know it, you may have read it. I'll just give you an idea of what the blurb says. So it says, the Petrakis family lives in the small Greek seaside village of Plaka. Just off the coast is the tiny island of Spinalonga, where the nation's leper colony once was located, a place that has haunted 4 generations of Petrakis women. There's Eleni, ripped from her husband and 2 young daughters and sent to Spinalonga in 1939, and her daughters Maria finding joy in the everyday as she dutifully cares for her father, and Anna, a wild child, hungry for passion and a life anywhere but Plaka. And finally there's Alexis, Eleni's great-granddaughter, visiting modern-day Greece to unlock her family's past. This was a really lovely book, and if you haven't read it, it's a sad book, but it's also a really interesting book. So if you hadn't read it, I highly recommend that one. The next book is something that I haven't read, but it is set in one of my favourite UK towns, and this is somewhere called Tenby, which is in Pembrokeshire in Wales. It is a lovely little town. It's still got the city walls, the kind of medieval castle walls up there, or town walls as they were known. It's got a lovely island just off it, called the Island, that you can visit, which still houses the monks, where they make wine and tend whatever needs to be tended to on that beautiful island. And Tenby is just a really rich place of lots of different things to do and beautiful scenery. So I highly recommend Tenby if you haven't been. It is in Pembrokeshire, if I didn't already say. So the book I found was The Hourglass by Tracy Rees. I haven't read this, but I'm definitely going to get it. And it says, 2014, Nora has always taken success for granted until suddenly her life begins to fall apart. Troubled by anxiety and nightmares, she finds herself drawn to the sweeping beaches of Tenby, a place she's only been once before. Tenby beaches are beautiful. Together with a local girl, she rents a beautiful townhouse and slowly begins to settle into her new life. But Tenby hides a secret, and Nora will soon discover that this little town by the sea has the power to heal even the most painful memories. Then it goes to 1950. Chloe visits Tenby every summer. She stays with relatives and spends the long idyllic days on the beach. Every year is the same until she meets a glamorous older boy and is instantly smitten. But on the night of their first date, Chloe comes to a realisation, the aftermath of which could haunt her forever. I can't wait to read that book. It really sounds right up my street with the two different timelines. Obviously some links there. Just really can't wait to read that. The next one is a book that is set in York. Now, I love York. I've been to York many times. It is a fantastic place to visit. There is so much to do, from York Minster to the Shambles to walking the city walls. There's just tons of stuff to do. So I highly recommend York if you've never been. So the book I found for York is again one I haven't read, and it's called Lost for Words, a heartwarming novel perfect for fans of Cecilia Ahern. So if you like Cecilia Ahern, you may like this one. It says, the bookshop keeps many secrets. Loveday Cardew prefers books to people. If you look carefully, you might glimpse the first lines of the novels she loves most tattooed on her skin, but there are some things Loveday will never show you. Into her refuge, the York Book Emporium where she works, come a poet, a lover, a friend, and 3 mysterious deliveries, each of which stirs unsettling memories. Everything is about to change for Loveday. Someone knows about her past and she can't hide any longer. She must decide who around her she can trust. Can she find the courage to right a heartbreaking wrong? And will she ever find the words to tell her own story? Again, sounds just up my street. It's got a bookshop in it. What's not to love about that? Got some mystery in there, and it's set in York. So yeah, definitely one to read. I will link all of these books in the description box below and in the pinned comment in the top if you want to go across to Amazon and have a look. Of course, you can get them out of your local library if they've got them in, find them in second-hand shops or your local bookshop. So the next one is set in a place that I visited about 6 years ago now, and it was part of a dream holiday that me and my husband Warren went on, and it was to New Orleans in America. This is a fantastic place. We stayed in the French Quarter, we stayed on Royal Street, and it was just such an interesting holiday. We visited a plantation, we went on a steamboat, we visited one of the local graveyards. A fascinating place and a great foodie place if that's the kind of thing you're into, particularly seafood. So I looked for a book to reflect New Orleans, and there wasn't many around, to be honest. And this is a book called The Shop on Royal Street by Karen White. Now, we stayed on Royal Street, so I thought this was ideal. This is quite an expensive paperback. The paperback's coming in at £15.47, which is quite expensive for a paperback, so I'm not sure why that is, but I'll just read you what the blurb says. Nola Trenholm is hopeful for a fresh start in the Big Easy, but must deal with ghosts from her past as well as new ones in this first book in a spin-off series of Karen White's New York Times best-selling Trad Street novels. I've never heard of them. I've never heard of Karen White. And of course, Nola is an abbreviation for New Orleans. That's probably why they've called the main character in that Nola. After a difficult detour on her road to adulthood, Nola Trenholm is looking to begin a new life in New Orleans. And what better way to start her future than with her first house? But the historic fixer-upper she buys comes with even more work than she anticipated when the house's previous occupants don't seem to be ready to depart. Sounds very interesting. Although she can't communicate with ghosts like her stepmother can, luckily Nola knows someone in New Orleans who was able to, even if he's the last person on earth she wants anything to do with ever again. Beau Ryan comes with his own dark past, a past that involves the disappearance of his sister and parents during Hurricane Katrina, and he's connected to the unsolved murder of a woman who once lived in the old Creole cottage Nola is determined to make her own, whether the resident restless spirits agree or not. That sounds fantastic. I really need to get that book. The houses and the shops and everything in New Orleans, the buildings are just so interesting to look at. Absolutely fantastic place to visit. If you ever get the chance, I highly recommend New Orleans. And that book is definitely up my street, so I'm going to be putting that on my list. Now, the next one is a book I've got, and I'm actually about to read it. It was on my TBR for the month. And this is a book set in Dubrovnik, which is in Croatia. We went to Dubrovnik a couple of years ago. We were huge Game of Thrones fans, so I really wanted to visit, and we stayed in a place called Lapad and got the bus into Dubrovnik city every day. It was only like a 10-minute bus ride. I do have a video from Dubrovnik, a few videos from Dubrovnik actually on my other channel, Georgie Grandma, which I will link those videos in the description box below if you want to go over and have a look, because it is a beautiful place, Dubrovnik. Really, really lovely. So when I spotted the Dubrovnik Book Club book in my local Aldi a few months ago, I had to pick it up because I thought, well, it's got to be a good read. So the book is called The Dubrovnik Book Club, and it is by an author called Glyn. And this is book 1, so I'm assuming there's going to be a series of them, which I always like to know. And this is, in a tiny bookshop in Dubrovnik's historic old town, a book club begins. That starts really well. It's a book club. Newly arrived on the sun-drenched shores of Croatia, Claire Thompson's life is about to change forever when she starts working at a local bookshop. With her cousin veteran employee Luna and Camilla, a professor, they form an unlikely book club. But when their first book club pick, an engrossing cosy crime, inspires them to embark upon an investigation that is close to the group's heart, they quickly learn the value of keeping their newfound friends close as lives and stories begin to entwine. I think this is going to be a nice summer read, a nice cosy summer read, even though it's about an investigation, that kind of thing. I think it is going to be a nice cosy crime to read. So that is the Dubrovnik Book Club by Glyn, and I'm really looking forward to starting that, which I'm going to today. The next book is set in Lanzarote. Now, I've been to a few of the Canary Islands. I've been to Fuerteventura, I've been to Gran Canaria, I've been to Tenerife. I've never actually stayed in Lanzarote, but we did a boat trip over to Lanzarote when we stayed in Fuerteventura, and we visited the volcano over there, which was fascinating. A little bit scary taking a coach ride around that volcano because you get quite high, but beautiful scenery, really lovely scenery. So the book I found for this was called The Drago Tree by Isobel Blackthorn. And the front of it looks a little bit, before you read anything about it, looks a little bit kind of scary maybe. Maybe not a summer read, but you don't just need to read these in the summer. It could be good to read them during the winter months and remember your holidays then. So the blurb on here says, she wanted to forget, to let this atmosphere of tremendous isolation consume her. Haunted by demons past and present, geologist Anne Salter seeks sanctuary on the exotic island of Lanzarote. There she meets charismatic author Richard Parry and indigenous potter Domingo, and together they explore the island. Anne's encounters with the island's hidden treasures becomes a journey deep inside herself as she struggles to understand who she was, who she is, and who she wants to be. Set against a panoramic backdrop of dramatic island landscapes and Spanish colonial history, The Drago Tree is an intriguing tale of betrayal, conquest, and love. Sounds like a very interesting book, and the scenery of Lanzarote is definitely dramatic. So hopefully that will evoke memories for me when I read it. So that's going on my list. The next one is set in a place called Carcassonne in France. And we went to Carcassonne because I'd read this book, which is Labyrinth by Kate Mosse. Some books I've read after I've been to a place, and some books actually inspire me to go to the places, and Labyrinth was definitely one of those. And we stayed not far from Carcassonne Castle, which is an absolutely stunning sight. The first time we saw Carcassonne Castle was at night, and it was lit up on the top of the hill. Beautiful, fascinating place. Would definitely go back there. Really loved Carcassonne. So as I've got the book Labyrinth, I'll actually read the blurb from the back. I've read this a couple of times, but it's been a while since I read it, and my memory being what it is, I can't remember the full story. I just know I really loved the book. So it says, July 1209, in Carcassonne, a 17-year-old girl is given a mysterious book by her father, which he claims contains the secret of the true Grail. Although Ale cannot understand the strange words and symbols hidden within, she knows that her destiny lies in keeping the secret of the labyrinth safe. Jump to July 2005, Alice Tanner discovers 2 skeletons in a forgotten cave in the French Pyrenees. Puzzled by the labyrinth symbol carved into the rock, she realises she's disturbed something that was meant to remain hidden. Somehow a link to an horrific past, her past, has been revealed. That is an excellent book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. When we were in Carcassonne, I had already read the book, and Warren actually read this when we were there. It talks about different things in the streets, like the kind of the things at the end of the drain pipes that are like lions' heads or dragons' heads or something like that, and the different architecture in the streets, and you could see that in the streets, the same as what had been written in the book. So it was really good to see things that had been written about. So yeah, I must read that again soon, because I highly enjoyed that. Didn't so much enjoy the other Kate Mosse books, but definitely Labyrinth was one of my favourites. So the next book was the book that sparked all this in the first place, and this is a book called Murder at the Seaview Hotel by Glenda Young. Now, I've read this on Kindle, so I don't have the book to hand, and I've been to Scarborough probably every year since I was the age of 9. Me and my husband go. We've taken the grandkids before. I've done videos on Scarborough, which I will also link in the description box below for my other channel if you want to go and have a look at them. And I just love Scarborough. It is just my go-to place when we need to have a couple of days away. And I really enjoyed this book. I'm about to review it in my June wrap-up, so I won't tell you too much what I thought about it, but I did love it. So yeah, I have told you too much about it. So it says, in the charming Yorkshire seaside town of Scarborough, a murder is nothing to sing about. After the death of her husband Tom, Helen Dexter is contemplating her future as the now sole proprietor of the Seaview Hotel. It's a fictional hotel, but I could kind of picture where it was as she was talking about it. There's an offer from a hotel chain developer to consider, but also a booking from a group of 12 Elvis impersonators, a singing troupe called Twelvis. Tom loved Elvis, and for Helen, this is a sign that she should stay. But the series of mysterious events which follow suggests that the developer is not going to give up easily. Then shortly after Twelvis arrive, one of the group disappears. His body is found floating in the lake with his blue suede shoes missing. Could the two be connected? With the reputation of the Seaview on the line, Helen isn't going to wait for the murderer to strike again. With her trusty greyhound Suki by her side, she decides to find out more about her guests and who wanted to make sure this Elvis never sang again. Now, this was it was a lovely book. It was a very cosy murder mystery book. And she really developed the characters, the author here, Glenda Young. You got to know them, and they are more in the series of with these people, with these characters that Glenda's written. So I'd be interested to read those as well. But yeah, it would be a nice summer read, this. Just easy to read, get involved with the characters, and you've got a little bit of mystery in there as well. It was a lot of fun to read. So the next book is set in Cyprus. We went to Paphos a few years ago. We went in January, so it wasn't quite the summer, so it was a little bit quiet, but the scenery is really beautiful in Cyprus, really beautiful. We did a couple of trips while we were there. We did a trip to somewhere called Varosi, which is a ghost town in Cyprus. Everybody fled this town when I think it was the Turkish invaded. So yeah, all of the houses and everything were just left the way they were. You can still see toys in the gardens of some of these houses. That was a fascinating place to visit. But Paphos itself was really beautiful. The scenery is gorgeous, and yeah, just a lovely place to visit. So when I looked for a book to do with Cyprus, I came up with The Olive Tree by Lucinda Riley. I think Lucinda Riley wrote the books about the Seven Sisters, which I haven't read yet, but they are on my list. So I'm assuming this is going to be a really good book because I have heard good things about her writing. It says, a magical house, a momentous summer. As a young woman, Helena spent a magical holiday at Pandora, a beautiful house in Cyprus, and fell in love for the first time. Now, 24 years later, and following the loss of her godfather, she has inherited Pandora, and though it's a crumbling shadow of its former self, Helena returns with her family to spend the summer there. Definitely sounds like a summer book. When by chance Helena meets her childhood sweetheart, her past threatens to collide with her present. She knows that the idyllic beauty of Pandora masks a web of secrets that she has kept from her husband and 13-year-old son, and that once its secrets have been revealed, their lives will never be the same. Always like a book that sounds like that. Yeah, it sounds really good. Again, right up my street. That is definitely going on my list of books to read. And I love the cover of it. That does just look like the Seaview in Paphos beside where we stayed. Just really, really, really lovely. And the last book is set in a place where when we went to New Orleans, we actually did a 2-center holiday, and we stayed for 7 nights in New Orleans, and then we went to Las Vegas for 5 nights. I mean, it was a holiday of a lifetime. It was fantastic. And Vegas is like no place on earth. You cannot be prepared for the sight of the Las Vegas Strip. I've seen it in films, but yeah, I just wasn't prepared for how awesome it was. I mean, it's so different to anywhere else you will ever go. Fascinating place. Definitely would like to go back. Not sure if we'll ever will, but would love to go back because there was a lot of things there that I don't think we explored. In fact, we talk about it now when we watch YouTube videos that have Vegas in. I've got a friend called Busy Bee Marie who has a YouTube channel. I'll put her name here so you can go across and have a look. She lives in Vegas. She's from England. She lives in Vegas, and she does a lot of vlogs where she goes into the different hotels there and shows you around and talks about living in Vegas generally. And it's quite a fascinating place. So there's lots of things even she's talked about. I've thought, why did we not do that? It's just, I don't know what we did when we were there, but we didn't get the chance to visit everything in 5 days. So I would like to go back. So when I looked for books in Vegas, there wasn't a ton of stuff, but I did find this one, The Desert Rose by Larry McMurtry, and it says, bittersweet, funny and touching. Larry McMurtry's The Desert Rose is the story of Harmony, a Las Vegas showgirl. That was one thing we didn't do. We didn't go and see a show in Vegas. Can you believe it? So it says, at night, she's a lead dancer in a gambling casino. During the day, she raises peacocks. Different. She's one of a dying breed of dancers, faced with fewer and fewer jobs and an even bleaker future. Yet she maintains a calm cheerfulness in that arid neon landscape of supermarkets, drive-in wedding chapels and all-night casinos. While Harmony's star is fading, her beautiful, cynical daughter Peppers is on the rise. But Harmony remains wistful and optimistic through it all. She is the unexpected blossom in the wasteland, the tough and tender desert rose. I think that sounds like a fascinating read. I'm definitely going to put that on my list and read that sooner rather than later. It says the Pulitzer Prize winning author. Yeah, it does. It really sounds like an interesting book, and I highly recommend you go across and watch some of Busy Bee Marie's videos because Las Vegas is an interesting place. So those were the 10 books that I found that were to do with my favourite holiday destinations. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any books from your favourite holiday destinations, or if you've read any books from my favourite holiday destinations that you think I might like to read. So I hope you found that interesting. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.